Have you ever wondered what actually kills most people during a zombie outbreak? It's not what you think. Sure, everyone imagines getting overwhelmed by a horde or cornered in some dark alley, but the reality is way more depressing. Most people die because they make the same 4 catastrophic mistakes that seem logical in the moment, but turn into death sentences faster than you can say, Walker. Here's the thing, I've analyzed hundreds of zombie scenarios, from movies to games to theoretical breakdowns, and the pattern is always the same. People don't die because they're unlucky or unprepared. They die because they do exactly what their instincts tell them to do, and those instincts are absolutely wrong in a zombie apocalypse. Ground rules. We're talking classic slow walkers here. Think Walking Dead, not 28 days later. Sprinters. You're caught in the initial outbreak with whatever you have on you, no military training, no plot armor. Just you, your bad decisions, and a world that's gone to shit in the span of 24 hours. Let's break down the 4 things that will get you killed faster than anything else, and why your brain is basically programmed to do them anyway. But before that, hit that subscribe button and ring the alarm bell, because when the outbreak spreads, you'll want every survival tip we drop. Trust me, in the apocalypse, information saves lives. So the moment the news breaks about a zombie outbreak, where does everyone go? Hospitals, police stations, schools, government buildings, anywhere that screams authority and safety. Congratulations, you just signed your death warrant. Here's what most people don't realize. These places become death traps within hours. Think about it logically for a second. If you're thinking, I should go to the hospital, so are the other 50,000 people in your city. Now you've got massive crowds of panicked humans packed into buildings that were never designed for siege warfare. But here's the real kicker. Hospitals are where the infected go first. Every bite victim, every person showing symptoms, every family member dragging their sick relative shows up at the ER. You're not walking into safety, you're walking into ground zero of the infection spread. Police stations? Same deal, but worse. Every cop in the city is either dead, turned, or barricaded, somewhere trying not to die. The station is just an empty building full of panicked civilians and maybe some guns you can't access because they're locked up tighter than Fort Knox. Schools become refugee centers, which sounds great until you realize you now have 500 people sharing limited food, water, and bathroom facilities. One infected person gets in, and they will. And you're trapped in a building with hundreds of potential zombies and no easy way out. The psychological trap here is that these places represent order and safety in normal times. Your brain can't process that the rules have changed, so it defaults to what used to work. But in a zombie outbreak, anywhere that attracts crowds is a kill zone. This one kills more good people than anything else, and it's heartbreaking every single time. The outbreak starts, chaos erupts, and your natural human instinct kicks in. Help others. You see someone trapped, injured, or in danger, and you think, I can't just leave them. Yes, you absolutely can, and you absolutely should. I know how that sounds. I know it goes against everything you were taught about being a decent human being. But here's the brutal math. Every second you spend trying to save someone else is a second you're not securing your own survival. And if you die trying to be a hero, you've just created 2 problems instead of solving one. Let's paint a specific picture. You're evacuating your apartment building when you hear Mrs. Johnson from 3B screaming for help. She's elderly, can't move fast, and there are zombies in the hallway. Your heart says, help her. Your brain should be screaming, run. If you go back for Mrs. Johnson, best case scenario, you both move at her pace, which is about as fast as the zombies. You're now traveling with someone who can't run, can't fight, and will slow you down in every future encounter. Worst case, you both die in that hallway. And now there are 2 more zombies for the next person to deal with. The psychological warfare here is intense. You'll feel like a monster for leaving people behind. You'll question your humanity, your morals, everything you thought you knew about yourself. But the alternative is being dead, and dead people don't save anyone. Here's the hardest part. Sometimes the person you need to leave behind is someone you love. Your elderly parent who can't keep up, your injured friend who's slowing the group down, your neighbor's kid who got separated from their family. Every instinct screams to help, but survival math is ruthless. The people who make it through the first week are the ones who can make these impossible choices. Everyone else dies with their conscience intact, which is a pretty shitty consolation prize. When people think zombie apocalypse, they immediately think, I need supplies. Food, water, weapons, medical gear, gotta catch 'em all, right? So they find a decent location, start stockpiling everything they can carry, and turn themselves into sitting ducks with a giant "Loot Me" sign on their heads. This is exactly backwards from what you should be doing, and it gets people killed in the most frustrating ways possible. First problem, hoarding makes you a target for other survivors. You've spent weeks collecting food, medicine, and weapons. Some desperate group finds your stash, and now you're facing the choice between sharing your carefully rationed supplies or fighting other humans while zombies are still wandering around. Either way, you lose. Second problem, hoarding makes you immobile. You've got 200 pounds of supplies, a fortified position, and a detailed inventory system. Congratulations, you're now married to that location. When a horde shows up, and they will, you can't just grab your stuff and go. You either abandon everything you've worked for or die defending it. But here's the real killer. Hoarding gives you a false sense of security. You look at your stockpile and think, I'm set for months. Meanwhile, you've stopped scouting escape routes, stopped staying in shape, stopped thinking like prey. You've become a farmer in a world that still belongs to the hunters. The smart play is staying light and mobile. Carry what you need for 3 to 4 days max. Know where to find more and always have an exit strategy. Your backpack should be your home, not some fortified building that becomes your tomb. I've seen this play out in simulations and scenarios countless times. The guy with the massive supply cache dies in week 3 when raiders show up. The woman with just a backpack and good intel makes it to month 6 because she can disappear when things go bad. The psychological trap is that collecting stuff feels productive. It feels like you're solving the problem, taking control, preparing for the future, but you're actually just building a more comfortable prison cell. Humans are social animals. We're hardwired to seek out groups, form communities, and work together. In normal times, this is our greatest strength. During a zombie outbreak, it's often a death sentence, and here's why. You have no idea who these people really are. That friendly group that invited you to join their community? Maybe they're genuinely good people trying to survive together, or maybe they're the kind of people who were barely holding it together before society collapsed, and now they've decided that might makes right. You won't know until it's too late. Here's the scenario that plays out over and over. You meet a group of survivors who seem competent and trustworthy. They've got a decent setup, they share their food, they watch each other's backs. Everything seems great for a few days or weeks. Then resources get scarce, or someone gets bit, or a difficult decision needs to be made, and you discover what these people are really like when the chips are down. Maybe they vote to exile the injured member, and you're next if you object. Maybe they decide your skills aren't worth your food ration. Maybe the group leader has been making increasingly unhinged decisions, and questioning them gets you labeled as a troublemaker. Maybe they've been planning to rob you all along and were just waiting for you to let your guard down. The worst part is that you've already invested time and emotional energy in these relationships. You've shared resources, revealed your capabilities, maybe even told them about your plans or safe locations. Now you're not just losing the group, you're potentially creating enemies who know too much about you. But here's the really insidious part. Even good groups can get you killed through sheer incompetence. That nice family who took you in? They might make noise at the wrong time, or insist on staying in a dangerous location for sentimental reasons, or refuse to make hard choices when survival demands it. Their good intentions don't stop zombies from eating your face. The smart survivors stay solo or form very small, carefully vetted partnerships. They're polite to other groups. They'll trade or cooperate on specific tasks, but they don't integrate their survival with people they don't know intimately. Trust is a luxury you can't afford when being wrong means being dead. Here's what makes these mistakes so deadly. They all feel right in the moment. Your brain is running on pre-apocalypse programming, trying to solve post-apocalypse problems. It's like bringing a calculator to a knife fight. The tool isn't wrong, it's just completely useless for the situation. Every single one of these mistakes comes from a place of logic and human decency. Seeking safety in official buildings makes sense when those buildings represent functioning authority. Helping others is what good people do. Preparing and stockpiling is responsible planning. Forming communities is how humans have survived for millennia. But zombie outbreaks aren't normal disasters. They're not hurricanes or earthquakes where you wait for rescue and rebuild afterward. They're extinction events where the old rules don't just stop working, they actively get you killed. The people who survive are the ones who can flip that mental switch fastest. They can look at a hospital and see a death trap instead of a safe haven. They can walk past someone screaming for help because they understand that 2 dead people help no one. They can abandon their carefully collected supplies because mobility beats security. They can smile and trade with other survivors while keeping their hand near their weapon. It's not that survivors are heartless or antisocial, it's that they understand the new rules of the game, and they're willing to play by them even when it feels wrong. But you know what actually kills more people than any of these 4 mistakes? Hesitation. That moment when you know what you should do, but you pause because it feels wrong, or scary, or impossible. That 3-second delay while you wrestle with your conscience or your fear. 3 seconds is enough time for a zombie to close the distance. 3 seconds is enough time for a panicked crowd to trample you. 3 seconds is enough time for another survivor to decide you're a threat. 3 seconds is the difference between making it to tomorrow and becoming a cautionary tale. The survivors aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who make decisions quickly and live with the consequences. Right or wrong, fast beats perfect when perfect gets you eaten. When it comes to short-term survival, I'm giving this scenario a harsh 3 out of 10 rating. Here's the brutal truth. Most people will make at least 2 of these critical mistakes within the first 72 hours of a zombie outbreak. The only ones who manage to avoid these pitfalls are either incredibly lucky or have been obsessing over survival scenarios way too much, guilty as charged. The margin for error is razor thin when you're dealing with the undead, and human nature works against us in almost every situation. The long-term outlook is even grimmer, earning a devastating 1 out of 10 rating. If you're still making these fundamental mistakes after surviving the first week, you're essentially zombie food with a pulse. The learning curve in a post-apocalyptic world is brutally steep, and unlike video games, there are absolutely no respawn opportunities or second chances to get it right. The key takeaways from this analysis boil down to 5 non-negotiable rules that could mean the difference between life and death. First, avoid crowds at all costs, even the ones that seem safe. Large groups attract attention and create chaos when things go wrong. Second, your survival must always come first, no matter how selfish it might seem in the moment. Third, prioritize staying mobile over staying comfortable, because comfort zones become death traps in zombie scenarios. Fourth, trust people slowly and verify their intentions constantly, since desperation makes even good people dangerous. Finally, make decisions quickly and deal with the regret later. Hesitation kills faster than bad choices. The timeline reality check is sobering and unforgiving. Most people who fall into these common mistake patterns will be dead within 2 to 3 weeks of the initial outbreak. Those rare individuals who can learn from their errors quickly and adapt their behavior might stretch their survival to the 2-month mark. However, the truly exceptional survivors, the ones who can completely rewire their thinking and abandon their pre-apocalypse mindset, are the only ones with a genuine shot at long-term survival in a world overrun by the undead. The zombie apocalypse doesn't kill people. People kill themselves by being human in a world where humanity has become a liability. The sooner you accept that the old you needs to die for the new you to live, the better your chances become. What do you think? Are there other deadly mistakes I missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from people who've really thought this through. And if this analysis helped you rethink your zombie survival strategy, hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. Trust me, if the apocalypse comes, you'll want to have watched these videos beforehand. Stay safe out there, and remember, in a world full of zombies, the most dangerous thing you can be is predictably human. People wearing torn clothes flee through Disneyland Park as grotesque zombies with decaying flesh pursue. Wide shot. Chaos everywhere. Cut medium. Zombie with glowing red eyes lunges at screaming human in business attire. Cut. Close up. Human's terrified face pressed against the candy machine as zombie claws scrape surface. Red eyes burning.